Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Imagine different species of cetaceans, whales, or dolphins interacting. Can you imagine it? And if you can't, I have two examples for you today. My first example is from the Live Science article dated November 9th, 2022. An adult southern right whale was recently spotted, as you can see in this picture, swimming alongside a humpback whale calf. Experts think the larger whale may have adopted the juvenile after it lost its real mother. This drone photo shows the pair off the coast of Esperance in Australia. The photographer thought, surely this cannot be right. But after studying her footage, she sent her amazing footage to Catherine Finney, a researcher at the Australian-based Little White Whale Project, which tracks southern right whales in this area. Finney was blown away by what she saw and texted everyone she knew. Finney's theory is that it's some kind of adoption. Eric Hoyt, a research fellow at the Whale and Dolphin Conservation in the UK, added that if this is an adoption, the most likely scenarios are that the humpback calf became separated from its mother, or that its mother died before it became fully developed. Slide 2, please. Humpback calves normally stay with, or next slide. There. Humpback calves normally stay with their mothers for the first 11 to 12 months of life. Hoyt added that if the abandoned calf could have welcomed a similar sized baleen whale mother for comfort. Next slide. And that is a southern right whale. Next slide. So I just love this image. That's my first example. My second example is from Discover magazine, an article written by Ashley Ward. He is a professor and director of the Animal Behavior Lab at the University of Sydney. He was in the Azores to study the social behavior of sperm whales. Around the Azores, there's a resident population of sperm whales, making it one of the best places in the world for biologists to study them. Ashley was watching a pod of 4 whales made up of one was a huge matriarch about 30 feet long, a slightly smaller individual about 3/4 her size, and then 2 calves. And with this pod was an adult bottlenose dolphin. These two species, sorry. Yeah, that's sperm whale. These two species are tolerant of one another, but their different lifestyles and prey preferences mean that they seldom associate. But a key difference with this dolphin was that it had a pronounced curvature to its spine, twisting its body just below the dorsal fin. It didn't look like an injury as there was no scarring, but rather something the dolphin had carried since birth. Against all odds, this dolphin made it to adulthood. For 20 minutes, the whales kept up this dialogue between each other, making creaking, knocking, and clicking sounds, and periodically you could hear a higher pitched dolphin noise. The whales were rolling around at the surface in the waves, and the smaller whales circling around the adult mother whale. Then, even more astonishingly, the whales began a strange kind of game. The matriarch would open, next slide, please. The matriarch would open her oar-like lower jaw, and one of the calves would come in to her jaw, the head hanging out one side, tail hanging out another, and the matriarch would nibble on it for just a second or two. The whale would then circle back around and get in line, while the next baby whale would do the same thing. Sorry. The bottlenose dolphin actually joined in this fun. He or she went into the matriarch's mouth and also got a nibble treatment. The researcher was mesmerized by this. The group he saw doing this was a typical example of sperm whale society. So it could be that he had witnessed some maternal attention being paid to the family in a strange form of a cetacean embrace. That the dolphin joined in suggested that it understood it was under no threat, and the fact that the matriarch lavished some of this nibbly attention to it suggested that the dolphin was actually an accepted member of the group. In many ways, this unusual partnership raised more questions than it did answers. Next slide. So they didn't actually have a photo, but this is an artist's recreation of it. So this raised more questions than it did answers. For example, how did the dolphin manage to forage, encumbered by the scoliotic spine? Based on its appearance, it was well fed. Could it be foraging? It couldn't be foraging alongside the sperm whales because sperm whales dive much deeper than dolphins can go. Was it catching its own food, or were whales providing for it in some way? This may seem like a stretch, but however, it was nourished and it appeared to be a part of this group. On the final day of Ashley's trip, they made one more attempt to see the whales. It had been 4 days since the last sighting, and there they were again alongside with the dolphin. A few weeks later, he heard from his guides, and they had seen the group with the dolphin again. This was a much longer term arrangement than Ashley could have imagined. I tell you about these two examples because number one, I love and am fascinated by whales and dolphins. And two, because I think there's a lesson for us to see an example of one species, our species, who look different, eat different things, sound different, helping out another species in need. And I think that's something we can all learn from. Madam Toastmaster.